Examine these images closely. A Russian soldier is walking alone on a road near the city of Orikhiv in Ukraine. Around him, debris from a destroyed bridge. In front of him, Ukrainian soldiers. And then he does something that few of Putin's soldiers have the courage to do. He stops, lowers his weapon, and starts to speak. He is surrendering. But there's something in the sky, a drone watching every movement, every word, every gesture of surrender. And here's the detail that will shock you. This drone isn't Ukrainian, it's a Russian drone operated by Russians, filming a Russian soldier who decided to survive. What happens to this soldier next is astonishing. But the reason why this is happening is even more disturbing, because something has broken inside the Russian army, something that Putin can no longer control. And the scale of what is happening is much greater than you imagine. Keep watching because we're going to explain every detail here so you can understand what that drone was doing there and why. Russian soldiers are being watched by their own army when they try to survive. We need to talk about something that's happening behind the scenes of this war, something with a very simple name: I want to live. In September 2022, Ukraine's military intelligence launched a program that seemed too simple to work. A website, a Telegram chatbot, a phone line available 24 hours a day. The proposal was straightforward. Russian soldiers who wanted to surrender could get in touch, receive instructions on how to do so safely, and be guaranteed treatment according to international war agreements. It seemed absurd. Why would a Russian soldier in the middle of a war zone stop to access a Ukrainian website and arrange his own capture? But here's what no one expected. It worked. The website was accessed more than 48 million times, and the most impressive detail is that 32 million of those visits came from inside Russia. That means Russian soldiers, Russian citizens, are actively looking for a way out of this war. The hotline received more than 26,000 direct requests. 26,000 soldiers who called, sent messages, or accessed the website asking to be captured. Here's where it gets truly disturbing. The surrender rate has actually risen since the war began instead of decreasing. By the end of 2025, more than 10,000 Russian soldiers had been captured by Ukraine. And in 2025 alone, more Russian soldiers surrendered than in 2022 and 2023 combined. This isn't normal in conventional wars. Captures usually decrease over time. Armies adapt, improve tactics, and increase discipline. But in Russia, the opposite is happening. During normal periods, between 60 and 90 Russian soldiers surrender per week, but during more intense combat, that number skyrockets. During the Ukrainian incursions in the Kursk region, there were 350 surrenders in a single week. And since June 2023, something unprecedented started to happen. Ukraine started capturing more Russian soldiers than Russia captures Ukrainian soldiers. Let me repeat that because it's important. Russia is the side that's attacking in this war. Usually, attackers capture more prisoners by advancing, surrounding, and forcing retreats, but now the opposite is occurring. Russian soldiers, even though they're attacking, are being captured in greater numbers than the Ukrainian defenders. This points to a fundamental flaw in Russian tactics and suggests something even worse. Russian soldiers no longer want to fight. But the question is, who are these soldiers? 83% of those captured are infantry privates, the ones literally on the front lines, facing drones, artillery, and mines. Only 13% are sergeants and 3% are officers. Russia doesn't put its officers in positions where they can be captured. They use privates as cannon fodder. There's something even more shocking. About 7% of all captured prisoners aren't Russian. They're foreign mercenaries from 40 different countries. And every week, between 2 and 3 new foreign fighters are discovered. How is Russia managing to recruit thousands of foreigners to die in a war that isn't theirs? Let me tell you a true story. A 22-year-old young man from South Africa is at home playing Arma 3 with his friends on Discord. It's a realistic military simulation game popular with strategy fans. He receives a private message from a user named Aroba. Dash, the offer seems too good to be true. I work in private security in Russia, European salary, Russian citizenship, educational opportunities. He accepts, takes a flight from Cape Town to St. Petersburg. When he arrives in Russia, he receives basic military training for a few weeks and then is sent to the front line in Luhansk, serving as a grenade launcher assistant. In October 2024, he died in combat. He wasn't alone. Investigations revealed that Russian recruiters infiltrated military game Discord servers, targeting young people who showed an interest in war tactics. But the scheme goes beyond gamers. In Africa, Russia created a program called Alabuga Start, promising young women jobs and studies in hospitality and gastronomy, paid flights, accommodation, and European-level salaries. Hundreds of women accepted. When they arrived, their passports were confiscated. Instead of hotels, they were taken to factories where they assembled Iranian drones, the same ones that attack Ukrainian cities. They worked with toxic chemicals without proper protection, lived in dormitories under surveillance, forbidden to leave. Russia was using African women as slave labor to manufacture weapons from Nepal, India, and Cuba. Thousands were recruited as cooks and security guards. When they arrived, they were given rifles and thrown to the front line. And in January 2026, a report emerged that represents rock bottom. An African soldier was tied to an anti-tank mine and forced to run toward a Ukrainian position to blow up a bunker. They made a person into a bomb. But going back to the Russian soldiers, there's another disturbing pattern. Almost a quarter of those captured reported that they were tricked or forced to enlist. 1 in 4 didn't want to be there. 40% have criminal records. Russia is emptying its prisons, offering pardons in exchange for military service. But it's not just criminals. Russia has started forming what they internally call infected units. Soldiers with tuberculosis, human immunodeficiency virus, and other serious diseases are being mobilized and sent to the front line. Men who should be receiving medical treatment are being used as expendables, and these men, many without proper training, are thrown into frontal assaults against fortified positions, and surrenders are only part of the story. By the end of 2024, more than 25,000 soldiers simply abandoned their units in the Central Military District. 25,000. We're not talking about being captured in combat. We're talking about soldiers who took their things and disappeared, preferring to be considered deserters rather than continue fighting. In some sectors of the front line, the situation has reached a medieval level. Reports from December 2025 documented Russian soldiers planning to cannibalize their own comrades due to lack of food. Russian soldiers are literally starving in the trenches, while Putin announces victories on television. So,
here is the watch. He committed fear of missing out. No one is going to die. The watch knocked him down, and then he committed for 2 weeks.
To try to keep the flow of recruits, Russia has drastically increased the payments. The bonuses went up 450% between 2024 and 2025. At the beginning of 2026, some regions even offered the equivalent of $30,000, but even these absurd amounts are not enough. The stories are leaking out. Soldiers come back mutilated, traumatized, or don't come back at all. And worse, many families don't receive anything. Russian commanders execute soldiers who refuse orders, a process they call zeroing, and then list them as missing to avoid paying benefits. More than 100 commanders have already been identified as responsible for the murders of their subordinates. Now, do you understand what that Russian drone operator was doing? The Russian army has deployed special units positioned behind the front lines with a single mission: to shoot any soldier who tries to retreat or surrender. And when ground troops aren't enough, they use drones, Russian drones hunting Russian soldiers. And that's exactly what happened in Orikhiv. That soldier walking alone on that destroyed road lowered his weapon. He was surrendering to the Ukrainians. He had made a choice to survive, but the Russian drone filming him had other orders. Moments after the opening footage, the drone fired. The soldier was killed before the Ukrainians could reach him. His surrender, filmed by his own army, which was supposed to protect him, became just another statistic. But the message that this image sends to thousands of other Russian soldiers is crystal clear. There is no way out. Russia does not allow you to survive. You either fight until you die or die trying to stop fighting. And that's why the I Want to Live program is working, because it offers the one thing the Russian army no longer offers: a real chance of survival. What's happening in Russia is not just a military crisis, it's a collapse of the system. When an army has to hunt its own soldiers to stop them from surviving, when it has to lie to foreigners and offer them as sacrifices, when it has to empty prisons and recruit terminally ill people because no one else wants to enlist. That's not a strong army, it's an army held together only by lies, money, and terror. And in 2026, the cracks are starting to show. Now I'd like your opinion. Do you think Russia can sustain this strategy, and for how long? Leave your answer in the comments below. If this video made you think, share it with someone who needs to see this. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, subscribe now and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next videos. See you next time.